I'm so excited to review the book A Promised Land, written by Mr. former President Mr. Barack Obama. So, I have been a very big fan of Mr. Obama since my college days. It was the time, like in 2008, he won the presidential election, and before that, also, before some months, I have been rooting for him. And when he won the election, the presidential elections, I was so delighted that it was like everything was possible. A man from a very humble beginning, a very humble family, can go to the topmost post in the US. So it gave us hope, and there was simultaneously there was Mahendra Singh Dhoni, who was rising up the ranks in the Indian cricket. So it was a fabulous time for all of us. And more so, I followed Mr. Obama's career, his words. I mean, everything was about him was so fine, so stately, and he was so articulate. He still is, and you can see from his writing. So basically, the book is it is a basically two volume book. So it is the one Promised Land. A Promised Land is the first part of two volumes. So which Mr. President Mr. Obama wrote after his tenure from 2009 to 2017. So it has five parts and 27 chapters in total. So the part one, it is titled The Bet, and it has four chapters. So the chapter one starts with his details about his journey, how he was a very non-serious student, and one day he came across some books, and he bought it all, and he read everything. So that his sparked his reading habit. It gave him a new leash of interest towards book, towards reading, and that made him a very knowledgeable person in the coming days. So that was the transformation. That was the metamorphosis of a child, a very non-serious child who was trying to figure out his place in the world, in the big bad world, to a idealistic person who was so idealistic, who has unbendable principles. So it was basically like that. The second chapter recounts how he met his wife, and how they dated for several years before getting married in 1992. Then it also covers his mother's illness and her untimely death, and you will also learn the political opportunity that arose in 1995, and the same year the birth of Malia. In chapter 3, we find it begins with him taking months of time out after his defeat in the 2000 Democratic primary for Illinois, first congressional district, and the birth of his second child, Sasha, in June 2001. The chapter also covers how he tested the prospects for 2004 US Senate race, and how he announced his candidacy. So, next, it also covers his travel to Russia and former Soviet blocs like Ukraine and Azerbaijan, basically for the Nun Lugar Cooperative. It is basically a pact for threat reduction and to prevent nuclear weapons falling into the hands of enemies, and how Hurricane Katrina and his visit to Iraq changed his perspective. So the next chapter 4 covers how he was encouraged by the member of Democratic Party, by some very senior members of Democratic Party, and how they mentored him to run for the presidential race. By the end of the first part, I wondered why the part is named as the bet, and the last line of the chapter made it very clear. So I read the words, I quote it: I had made a bet long time ago, and this was the point of reckoning. I was about to step over some invisible line that would inexorably change my life in ways I could not yet imagine, and in ways I might not like. So this was how the chapter was named. The first part was named "The Bet." The part two is "Yes, we can," which is a very famous tagline of Mr. Obama. We still know him for that catchphrase, and it starts with chapter 5, how Mr. Obama announced his candidacy in February 2007, and he spoke about the daily grind he underwent to raise funds for state visits, and also to the public appearance for press, everything. It is covered there. And in chapter 6, it touches his it speaks about his loss in New Hampshire, but it still gave confidence to the senior members of the party that Mr. Obama is the right person for the job. It also focused on the South Carolina campaign and how he won by a margin of 28.9% over Hillary Clinton. Chapter 7 starts with Caroline Kennedy announcing support for Mr. Obama, and just a few paragraphs after it speaks about very malicious and very damaging conspiracy theories against him, which has no base, which had no base and was completely preposterous. So. Chapter 8 is yeah. So the chapter 7 also highlights his strained relationship between him and the Clintons for the malicious character assassination and some malicious campaigns doing round. And the chapter 8 it focuses on the efforts Democratic Party undertook to unify the party, and a 9-day travel to Kuwait, and a 3-day sojourn to Iraq and Afghanistan. It is very interesting, and it gives Mr. Obama the first hand perspective of how things are, how Iraq was a needless cause, and how Afghanistan was the need of the hour. And it also speaks about the bilateral meetings with leaders of Israel, Jordan, UK, France, and stopover at in Berlin. And the chapter 9 it starts with an ominous note on the impending financial crisis, and how it almost entirely covers the global economic meltdown. And the part 3 is named Renegade, which refers to the code name the Secret Service protection gave for Mr. Obama's protection. In fact, Mr. Obama was called Renegade. Renegade heading to the residence, Renegade heading to bathroom. So basically, it details about the inner workings and the security cover given to the president of US, and how the things are when a president goes to a foreign country, and how they carry the Air Force One along with the Beast, the ambulance staff, everything. It is not no other countries do such thing except the US president. And the chapter 11 the chapter 12 it starts with an emotional note where he gets letters from people across the country, and how the economic meltdown was affecting them. So chapter 13 is it almost entirely focuses on the security aspect, as well as his travel to some of the dangerous places, as well as the economic ramifications that was happening inside the country. And we go to the next part, which is the good fight. So the chapter 14 details the happenings in London's G20 summit, and the president traveling across the globe for various trade deals and for various agreements. And chapter 15 it is about Mr. Obama ordering some enemies of the state, ordering the basically the deaths of enemies of the state. It starts with a very intriguing story, that is Captain Phillips. The movie Captain Phillips can give you the idea where the president himself orders the shooting, the killing of the mercenary, the Somalian mercenary. So he also speaks about his guilt, how he had to give orders to eliminate the threats, which he otherwise would have preferred to give them education, to uh, to bring them to the mainstream. But unfortunately, he has to take the hard way, that is killing the enemies of the state. But in his heart, he writes that he wanted to change them. So moving on to the next chapter, it speaks about H1N1 and the response of the president to control it, and the passing of the Healthcare Bill, Patient Protection Act, and Affordable Care Act. The part 5 is the world as it is, and it focuses on the strategies and rebuilding of Afghanistan, and his getting the Nobel Peace Prize in Nobel Peace Prize. And the chapter 19, it revolves around his foreign policy and how he attempted to make it different from the one that has been practiced that was practiced since 9/11. Chapter 20 was environmental policies for climate change, greenhouse reduction, recovery act, clean energy, and stimulus money provided to transform the energy sector. Part 6 is in the battle, which is literally he found himself in the battle, rolling on a very rough patch of land, metaphorically speaking. So in here he touches the low phases of his life, the downgrade of his approval rating, rumors surrounding the Affordable Care Act, economy in a slump, and chapter 25 almost entirely focuses on the Deepwater Horizon blast and how everyone came together to mitigate that. It was a very serious issue and it could have affected his presidential career, but fortunately they came together and saved the it from being a fiasco, a major fiasco. So chapter 24, it highlights on visit to India, and it details his journey to India, his stay in more than 5 pages. There he visited Mani Bhavan and the dinner invitation from Manmohan Singh, and how he met the Gandhis, Sonia Gandhi and Rahul Gandhi, and that is where this quote comes, where he found Mr. Gandhi as an unformed, nervous quality to him. So the next part is on the high wire. So it basically touches on the Arab Spring, the Israel-Palestine conflict, and the simmering tensions in the Middle East. So, and the next chapter, it goes to Gaddafi and Libya. So if you have seen the movie 13 Hours in Benghazi, it gives you a brief story of how Gaddafi was eliminated. Of course, he was eliminated by the Libyans, by the rebels, but it was actually spearheaded by the US military. And the next chapter is Osama bin Laden, which one can get a very good idea from the movie Zero Dark 30. So it basically it is about 27 pages, the last chapter, and in that it has Mr. Obama has written in every details. He has mentioned it, and we have a photograph insert from 768 page to 849. So coming to it was a very detailed book. It was a very long read, and I found that, and it is also the very first book that I have read just hours after its release. I have not read any book in just matter of hours after it gets released. So what are the things that are great in this book, and what are the things that could have been improved? So the great thing in this book is it is extremely well written. You will find Mr. Obama's writing in the league of Ernest Hemingway and Thomas Friedman, who writes for New York Times, and also if you follow Ruskin Bond, and you will thoroughly enjoy this. So simply written, but so it has so deep meaning. To every sentence carries a very deep meaning and a very personal statement, and it is interesting. It keeps you riveted. I mean, of course, reading a 780 pages book will take a toll on your. It will take consume some of your time, but still there is a hook. You will come back to it after you go to toilet or to have your food. You will keep on coming back again and again till you finish this book. So such is the quality of writing, and it is very relatable for a man with no personal. He did not have a legacy left to him. He did not have a inheritance left to him, but he created a legacy that that will remain forever. The first African American president is a huge legacy that he left behind. So, and the things that could have been improved, it is very extremely detailed. Um, Suppose it was written by some other writers, for example, Ruskin Bonder, some other writers, they could have cut the excess fluff, but it was excessively detailed, and it also the positive side is you will feel that everything is happening right in front of you. You will feel that you are a part of the happenings, and there are a few cuss words, like the F word has been used at least 8 times, the N word has been used once, and but the good thing is the dialogues have not been supplemented or have not been sanitized. You may wonder that is it possible that Mr. President remembers everything that happened 12 years back till now, but the writing is such that you will be convinced that yes, he actually had a journal or a recorder where he kept each and every word that passed from his mouth as well as from the people around him. So that is the quality of the writing, and it's a very thoroughly enjoyable book. I have left a link, Kindle link, in the description box. You can see that. You can see the preview of the first few chapters, like the first 3 or 4 chapters will be there as a preview, but I got the book before I even read the preview, and there was no stopping from there. So I hope that you read it, you enjoy it, and you will certainly get some takeaways from his life. So a very good day to you, and please do feel free to comment, to like the video if you like, and please do tell how the review can be improved. It is my first book review, and I'm planning to do some more if you like it. Thank you very much.